There are tales that were never written, whispers too terrifying to be spoken aloud. Tonight, I will tell you one of them, a legend left out of every book. A widow, a forest, and the men who never returned. If you're brave enough, stay with me till the end. And if you enjoy stories like these, dark, forgotten, and forbiddens, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts or legends you've heard in the comments below. Your support means the world and keeps these old shadows alive. Thank you for being here and for listening. The evening sky was a bruise of violet and coal, sagging low above the barren hills. A man in a black wool cloak urged his horse forward down the hollow road, the hooves sinking into mud thick with rot and old leaves. The trees leaned inward. Like gossiping crones, branches gnarled into gestures of warning. He had heard whispers in the last village of a widow who lived alone at the edge of Blackthorn, a place no maps showed and no priests blessed. They said she healed the sick. They said she never aged. They said men went there and never returned. He rode on. The forest grew darker. Fog slithered across the path, damp and cold. Then, like a breath in the dark, he saw it a single cottage with a sloped roof and a crooked chimney, glowing from within. The rest of the village lay behind it, lifeless and gray, but this house pulsed with warmth. He dismounted. Mud sucked at his boots. As he approached the door, it creaked open without his touch. She stood in the doorway. She was not young, but not old. Her beauty was suspended in a kind of mourning. Pale skin, the color of milk left too, long in moonlight. Black hair that fell like silk into her corseted bodice. Her eyes, blue and bright, held him without blinking. "You've come far," she said, her voice low, curved at the edges like a blade. The man said nothing. He stepped into her home, and behind him, the forest sighed. The wind shifted. The road vanished. The house was strange in its quiet. No footsteps echoed, no clocks ticked. The air smelled of dried lavender and melted wax. She moved through the rooms like mist, her dress whispering against the stone floor. The man followed unspeaking, uncertain. In a hallway lined with old portraits, he paused. All the painted eyes followed him. At the end of the hall, a tall arched window opened to the gray forest. He turned and saw her standing there, backlit by the silver light. Her hands were folded before her, and though she did not smile, she was not unkind. Her gaze was steady, unblinking. He wanted to speak, but the words failed. "You're not the first to come," she said. He did not ask what happened to the others. The dining room was long and narrow, the wood warped and bowed with age. Candles flickered in iron holders, and a single meal had been set. Bread, broth, and a dark red wine. She did not eat. She sat across from him, hands folded, her expression unreadable. He tasted the broth. It was bitter and full of roots. "Why me?" he asked. She tilted her head. "Why any of them?" He looked down at the wine, its surface unmoving. Outside, the wind howled. She reached out and placed her hand over his. Her skin was cold, but the feeling bloomed into something warm. "Because you came," she said simply, and he could not argue with that. They sat by the hearth. The fire was low, casting shadows like fingers across the walls. She poured more wine. He drank it without tasting. She spoke of the town as it had once been before the war, before the sickness. He listened, but the words blurred. Her presence was magnetic. His pulse slowed. "There is peace in forgetting," she said, voice soft as ash. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, the fire had gone out. The shelves reached the ceiling. Dust floated in the light of a single window. He wandered, trailing fingers over cracked spines. Books written in languages he didn't know. Symbols he didn't recognize. She watched him from the doorway. "Do you read?" she asked. He nodded. "Then choose something to lose yourself in," she said, Dot. And he did. Time slipped. The days bled together. He woke with her beside him. Ate when she asked. Walked when she led. She never raised her voice. Never touched him again. Yet he felt bound to her, Dot. The house grew quieter still. The forest beyond stopped rustling. Even the crows fell silent. At night, he heard them dot voices under the floorboards. Names spoken in sighs. Dot he rose and walked barefoot through the halls. The portraits watched. The wind moaned Dot in the mirror. His reflection lagged behind. She found him on the stairs. "Don't listen to the dead," she said, Dot, and he didn't. Not after that. In the parlor, a canvas waited on an easel. She held a palette, brush poised. "I want to see you," she said, "as you are." He sat, unsure. Dot, the brush moved quickly, whispering over linen. She did not glance at him, yet the strokes were true. It was done. She stepped aside. He stared. The man in the painting was older, hollow-eyed, touched by something he could not name. "It's how the house sees you," she said. He nodded, though his throat burned. "I am that," he whispered. "No," she said. "You were." They stepped outside near midnight. A walled garden waited, wild and moonlit. Flowers bloomed where none should grow. Black roses, lily the color of bruises, vines like veins. She led him to the center, where a single bench stood beneath a weeping tree. He sat beside her. "Everything that grows here feeds on memory," she said. He touched a blossom. It withered. She didn't stop him. "Let it take what it needs," she said, Dot, and in silence they remained. That night, his dreams were thick and endless. He wandered through halls that bent like ribs, rooms full of voices that whispered his name. He saw her in every corner, her gaze both a warning and a welcome. He woke gasping, the sheets cold. She was sitting at the edge of the bed, brushing his hair back from his forehead. "It always begins this way," she said. He did not ask what would come next. In the morning, she handed him a key. It was iron, worn smooth with age. "One door remains locked," she said. "Should I open it?" "Only if you're ready." He turned it in his palm. It felt heavier than it should. He kept it in his pocket all day, and did not use it. They sat in silence beneath the weeping tree. He asked finally, "Were you ever married?" She smiled without warmth. "Once." "What happened to him?" Her gaze drifted to the garden. "He feeds the roses." He laughed, then realized she hadn't. That night, he unlocked the final door. The air inside was cold. Dust coated everything. A four-poster bed, untouched. A trunk at the foot. Sealed dot paintings of her lined the walls, but different. Smiling. Youthful. A single dress hung on a mannequin. He touched the fabric. It crumbled dot behind him. The door closed. She stood there, watching. "Now you know," she said. She prepared a meal. Venison, root vegetables, a tart of blackberries. He sat, watching her. Dot, she ate this time. slowly, deliberately. Will I become like him? He asked. She chewed, swallowed. Only if you stay, she said. The candlelight trembled. He did not leave. He found it tucked beneath his pillow. Folded, sealed in black wax. There was no name. Inside, one sentence: don't drink the wine. He burned it without reading it again. That night, he drank deeply. The mirror in the hallway had been covered. Now it was bare. He stood before it. His eyes were not his own. Behind him, she stood, her reflection absent. You still have a choice, she said. He touched the glass. It was warm. Days passed. They no longer spoke. He moved through the house like a ghost. She watched him always, but said nothing. The garden wilted. The portraits darkened. The fire never lit again. He heard it one evening. A melody from the attic. He climbed the stairs. She was there, turning the crank of a music box. The tune was familiar, from childhood. How? He asked. She didn't answer. The box stopped. So did his heart. He cut himself in the garden. The wound didn't bleed. She saw. The house is taking root in you, she said. He didn't understand until he did. She told him everything. The men before him, the bargains made, the lives traded. She tried to stop, tried to end it, but the house would not let her. It must feed, she said. He held her hand and didn't let go. What if I stayed? He asked. Then the house will let me rest, she said. And if I leave, it will bring another. He kissed her. Then I'll stay. The next morning, his hair had gone silver. His eyes dulled. He walked slower, spoke less. The house brightened. She smiled. Genuinely, for the first time, the weeping tree blossomed. He stood in the mirror again. He no longer recognized himself, but he didn't mind. She joined him. Together, they watched the forest fade from view. The door would never open again. She sat alone in the garden. Another portrait had been added to the hall. The music box was silent. The house rested. She closed her eyes and waited for the next one.